Iowa, welcome. Hey, it is such a privilege to be here, but not only be here in the heart of America, but on the floor of a manufacturing shop. Right here, not only are we at Sam and Ryan's place, but we are at the bedrock of where manufacturing happens. Made in America, by Americans, and we're some of the best in the business doing it. I want to say thank you to the entire XGuard team for having us out here. I want to say thank you so much to our incredible Attorney General. Brenna Byrd has been a rock star for Iowa and is leading the charge for America. I want to say thank you to our governor, Kim Reynolds, and our lieutenant governor for sharing the charge here and making Iowa not only a best practice, but truly something the rest of the country wants to be a lot like. And to all of our elected officials who are helping make Iowa what it is today, your service is appreciated the country over. Thank you for your leadership, team. But team, why we're here tonight is to really say thank you to Iowans. Right now, there are farmers across our state who are in the field. There are men and women working second shift so they can manufacture right here in America. And there are hundreds of thousands of Iowans who are doing everything right, not only to be able to serve their families and be part of our great community, but making sure that American greatness can continue to stay right where it is, here in America. Now, team, when you look around this room, you're going to see on each side not only what we designed here, XGuard's a perfect example of this, but we build it here, and most important, we deliver the best in the world. And that's what we're fighting for today. We're working to make sure that Washington knows that what's made in places like Iowa, what's grown in places like Iowa, not only feed and fuel the world, they're a reflection of our next generation. And so I'm really thankful today to be able to say thank you to my wonderful wife and our incredible kids. You're growing the next generation of America. God bless you guys. And we're also making sure that those, maybe on the other side of the world, who don't play by the rules are held accountable. I'll be very specific here tonight. We stand on the floor of XGuard, a company that was designed and built here in Iowa and has expanded all across the US. But when they're designed to help save these incredible tractor trailers you see behind me from collisions on the road, not only protecting drivers, but all of our supply chain, it was poached. Intellectual property stolen, and you know by who. Beijing taking from America, rebuilding it, and then dumping it right here in the United States. That's right. Not only did they want to put Sam and Ryan out of business, they were trying to put an American industry to bed so they could own that space going forward. I'm so proud of the work that we've done in Congress, but also the work of this administration in holding bad actors accountable, in being able to fight not just for families like Sam and Ryan's who have built this generation after generation, but for every American-made industry who wants to see success as a result of their own hard work and not have an adversary steal it, cheat the system, and then dump on us. God bless America on this front, and thank you all for helping fight back against Chinese poaching. Team, I was privileged to be able to join the Vice President just moments ago on the tarmac here at the 132nd Wing, an area I know very well, being able to serve not only in the U.S. Air Force and our Iowa Air Guard, but as a commander and a colonel. But when we walked off that tarmac, we were joined by GoldStarFamilies, parents, men and women who had given the ultimate sacrifice so that their son and their families could deploy for our freedom. And challengingly, Iowa has lost a disproportionate number of our young service members, both in the Guard and our Reserve Unit. But in hearing from those Gold Star families, they knew that it was worth it. That when we go to bed every night, we're a little bit safer because of what their kids did for us. And so, Iowa, I want to say we know that we're hurting. We're hurting in the loss. We're hurting in what we're trying to do for our families. And sometimes that pain is acute. It might be the cost of filling up the minivan. It might be the input costs that we're putting on the field. But we know this much is also true. The sacrifice that our men and women standing on the front line today ensure that we have a country that can be energy independent from places like Iran and Russia. A place that can be successful regardless of what happens in the world. And their sacrifice is something we should be fighting for in Washington, D.C. A fight for our farmers, a fight for our families, and a fight for the future of America. Which is why I'm so glad this past week, because of so many of you in this room, I'm looking at you, Team Red Hat, we moved forward a farm bill in a bipartisan fashion, but in a way that certain folks in Washington never wanted to see the light of day. And so when backroom deals in Washington happen, you can know that as hard as our farmers work in the field, we've got a team in Washington working just as hard for them. And I'm Iowa nice, but I don't mind calling out a bad actor on occasion, and I know our delegation doesn't either, which is why not only we got the Farm Bill passed, but we're moving E15 nationwide, year-round, to the floor this coming week. Going forward, your Iowa delegation, and this seat in particular, helped move 21 of our priorities in the Farm Bill, something that's never happened in a Farm Bill. That means helping the next generation of young farmer be successful. It means laying rural broadband, so all of us, whether you need telehealth, whether you have an autonomous tractor, or whether you're just trying to watch the last season of Landman, has high-speed broadband when and where you need it. It also means that we're taking the next step forward in things that really matter. Things like disaster protection, helping our farmers, and my work in rural housing to make sure that every community in Iowa can be a success story, not just big blue cities, but right here in red communities like Iowa. And for our livestock farmers, we have put you first at every step in this bill. I'm also proud of the incredible fight that we have, because we've got a challenging history in Iowa when it comes to things like puppy mills. And so for a sheriff from Wayne County, a very good friend, when he came on to a Gingrich farm and saw hundreds of dogs, man's best friend, being treated far worse than any livestock farmer would ever treat their own herd, he called it out and said the USDA must do more. Now you just heard from a great Secretary of Ag, and Brooke Rollins has been a champion on this. We were able to include in this making sure that puppy mills in states like Iowa mirror what the state legislature has already done in ending animal torture. Let's end bad puppy mills in Iowa, and let's make sure good breeders are rewarded the way they should, so each of us takes a best friend home. Now, friends, I want to be very specific here. We've got work to do in Washington. You know this much is true. For all the good work that we're doing, both in the National Defense Authorization Act, the Farm Bill, our rural housing bill, there's far too many bad actors still in Washington, D.C. And I'm going to give you 200 million reasons why we got to keep fighting to clean that place up. Because 200 million is the amount of stock trades that were done by members of Congress just in the last year alone. Now, it was led, of course, as you know, by Nancy Pelosi herself. And if you're watching her stock portfolio while she's been in Congress, it's gone up from hundreds of thousands to tens of millions. No one should ever send someone to Washington who's more interested in taking care of themselves than taking care of their bosses back home. This is why I'm so proud to be leading the charge to clean up corruption in Washington, D.C. Not only did my family never trade stocks, and we never had stocks before we went into Congress, we're making sure that good policies, things like term limits, things like making sure outside influences can't buy politicians, and things like insider stock trading are ended with our effort on the Stock Act to make sure this does not happen again. So my friends, like all good ideas, I'm proud to say that my opponent has decided to copy what Iowa's doing so well. not unlike Kamala Harris when she said no to no tax on tips. But guess what? We found out that no tax on tips is a pretty good thing, haven't we? And Democrats have jumped on. My opponent's done the same, and I'm happy to have her endorsement of our great policies because they're working. But what I don't need is I don't need a lecture from someone who pretends to preach from the pulpit while at the same time doing things like oversee a satanic wedding, or tell Americans that they're too white and too racist, or wag their finger to say, hey, from the bully pulpit, most of Iowa is bigoted. I don't believe that's true. I still believe in the greatness of folks all across the spectrum. And yes, I'm proud to be one of the top 10 most bipartisan members of Congress, but I'm more proud that we get to lead legislation that delivers from Iowa. So whether you're a Republican, whether you're an independent, whether you're my mother-in-law and love to vote Democratic as well, but still put a yard sign in our yard for me, we're proud to be able to fight for Iowa's best ideas and take those to Washington. And team, I know with your help, we get the opportunity to do this again. A lot of people are going to tell you this is a bellwether year, that Iowa, third, is the most vulnerable in the country. But I know this much is true. We've taken on harder races. We won in districts that were blue, and we've won them by double digits. And I know in our state, not only with our leadership, with our friends, but with each of you and the good policies we've delivered, Iowans know we're pragmatists. We're hard workers, but we want results. And each of you in this room are going to help us deliver a resounding win this November. Now, team, we all know this. Leadership starts at the top, and being a good commander, it is a privilege to have a wingman, in this case, who's a Marine. You know JD Vance. You've seen what he's done for our country. You've heard his story. But the compounding reality here is JD is also a dad. He's a great husband. And he's been a fighter not only for families like mine, Kelly and mine, but for all of us. And in Washington, you see that play out in every act that he takes. He understands what it means when Washington overlooks a community, like the community he grew up in. He understands what it means to be a dad who served, but then come home and has another mission, to take care of not only his family and his wife, but the community that gives him the opportunity. And he has the fight to build on the wins that we've championed. Good examples right here in Iowa. So not only is the vice president for Donald Trump and the wingman for the next 2 years, he's a man who's leading the charge to win this midterm. Because with this midterm's victory, we get to continue to deliver on the greatest tax cut in American history. We get to deliver on what Iowa has helped lead. But if we don't have it, the Democrats will take on what they've always said. Hakeem just said it last week before an assassination attempt on the president. He wants regime change. The Democrats are saying we want the largest tax increase on working class Americans. And Democrats across the board are putting places like Iowa not only at second, but at a distant 50th. No state should have to do that. Because what we've worked so hard on, we need to see not just for the next 2 years, but I like to say for the next 10 years. And with that, we have a leader in JD. Here's what JD has done. JD has not only fought the tough fights, he's outlined what the fight should look like and given us all a clear marching order on how we can be victorious this November. I believe strongly, Iowa, that we have the opportunity to break the mold, not just in the 3rd district, which has only been held 2 times before it's lost. We can break the mold this midterm and deliver huge wins to our elected officials in Des Moines, our elected officials in DC, but more importantly, our Iowa family across the country. Team, please join me in welcoming my friend, a true leader, a fighter, a warrior, a dad, a very proud husband, and our Vice President, Mr. JD